Descendants of the first Secretary General of the African National Congress, then known as the South African Native National Congress, Solomon Plaatje, will address the media on issues around the government deciding to upgrade its grave without their knowledge. The Provincial Department of Arts and Culture refurbished Plaatje's grave and erected a cage with a lock on it. ANC President Cyril Ramaphosa is expected to honour Plaatje and lay a wreath at his gravesite as part of the party's birthday celebrations next week. Let's cross to our reporter there now to find out what's happening. Motlalepula, thanks so much for joining us. Tell us what's happening. I can see that there's still quite a bit happening behind you.
Yes, Peter, you are right. If you can look at the back of my shoulder, you can see the grave of Sol Plaatje without a cage. The family actually came here earlier on, just after the press conference, where they told the media that they were not consulted when the provincial government decided to come and erect the cage around the grave here. So they decided they will come here and remove the cage themselves, because they have been engaging with the provincial authorities, begging them, pleading with them to come and remove this cage here, but to this morning, none of their pleas has actually brought any fruits. So to tell us more why the cage was actually offensive to the family is the family spokesperson Motlalepula Morake, who will tell us why did they decide to remove the cage as the family. Motlalepula, if you can just come closer to us, can you just tell us, as the family, why did you remove this cage?
Madam, as we have earlier indicated that Sol Plaatje fought for freedom and was a man of the world, he should be, in spirit, also be freed. This tomb is a remembrance of somebody great, not just in the family but beyond. And for the powers that be to come and have a discussion with us and afterwards make ways and means to come and erect a cage around our grandfather's grave. We don't have a problem in principle in honoring our grandfather, but we've got a serious problem in certain elements, culturally and otherwise. In Setswana culture, you don't just go and dig somebody's grave or somebody's next of kin's grave without consultation. It's the ultimate insult which you can do. And they even went to the extent of trying to poison certain relatives who are not actually directly related to Sol Plaatje. The direct descendants made an effort to come from across the length and breadth of this country to come and say, this won't be done in our name. This is not a celebration of our grandfather. This is a humiliation of somebody who was very humble and made an immense contribution, not just to this country, but to also humanity.
Okay, Peter, earlier on the family also indicated that they do not have any problem with anybody coming to pay homage or respect or honor to this grave, but their problem is the manner in which this whole erection of the cage around the grave has been carried out. They even said they have a right to go and open a criminal case against the provincial government, because they take that as a desecration of grace. To tell us more about this fact is again, I'm inviting again Motlalepula. You told us earlier on that this is illegal. You might even take a criminal case against the provincial government.
That's correct. Any grave which is more than 60 years old is being protected by the National Heritage Act. And to tamper with it without the involvement or the leadership of the South African Heritage Resources Agency, which is the only authority which has got powers to actually deal with heritage sites and graves of this particular nature. Mind you, this grave is about 80 years old. And for them to come without the legal authority, without the expertise and do what they did, it's a total insult to the legacy of Sol Plaatje and an indignity to the family. Today's act in removing the cage which caged him was to try and restore our dignity as a family and the dignity of our late grandfather and grandmother who are lying in this grave today. And I should highlight, we welcome the gesture that our state president expressed the interest to come and pay homage to Solomon Plaatje, who is our grandfather. We welcome this with warm arms, but we won't allow any form of abuse, because basically what they did was, it was an element of desecration of the gravesite, and it's a criminal offense. Unfortunately, our grandfather's gravesite and our grandfather's gravesite and our grandmother's gravesite ended in being turned into a crime scene. We are weighing all legal angles, and we also are still awaiting on them to come to us as government, as in the ANC, to come and explain and engage around this. We are grieved, but we are not arrogant. We always humble ourselves and give an ear to whoever comes and pleads, not necessarily plead, but tables his or her story on us.
Will you be attending President Ramaphosa's honor here next week, Tuesday?
What happens is, we are still awaiting official communication from government and provincial and national government. We wrote a letter to the president. His office is aware about this, which has really created a great upset. They are aware of that. Provincial government, all entities within government and the ANC are firmly aware of this. We are still keenly awaiting on them, and we always keep an open ear for the voice of reason.
Okay, Peter, as you heard, the family says they don't have any problem with the president coming to lay a wreath here, which is part of the plan of the 108th celebration, January 8th statement of the ANC, which will be held next week. What we hear is that the president will be here on Tuesday to come and lay a wreath on top of Solomon Plaatje's grave. The family says they're not attending that event because they were not properly consulted. They're still waiting for the invitation from the provincial government. With that, it's back to you, Peter.
Motlalepula, just before you go, I was just wondering, have the authorities indicated at all why the fence was erected in the first place?
No, it was good. Then we can just restore Hanyani. And
we tried on numerous occasions, Peter, to get hold of the provincial government to actually find out from them what could be the reason for them to erect this cage around this cave here. But we heard that they said they want to actually protect the grave from vandalism. But we tried to speak to them on various occasions. This morning we tried to speak to Department of Arts and Culture, who referred us to the Premier's office. The person that I was referred to speak to on the matter said he was not aware that he has been dedicated to speak to the media about the issue. He has since said he will get back to me, and as we came live right now, I was still waiting for his call.
All right, Motlalepula, we'll leave it there. Thanks so much indeed for that update, and we'll bring you more on that as it comes through.